G'day subscribers, it's Jules Knight from FJ Holden Jive talking. I've got a few little secrets to tell you today, just a couple to start with, and then we'll get into to talking about some NASCAR accessories and so on. But I wanted to talk about the humble paintbrush. Now I've met three General Motors Holden painters in my time, and I think it was at Warina. At the Nationals there in South Australia in Adelaide in 1986. I was talking to this one fellow, and he was admiring my mate's panel van and complimenting the job on it. And we got to chatting, and he was saying he was formerly a painter before he retired at General Motors. And so I got to talking to him about the production line. And one of the things that he was saying was, it was not uncommon for cars to come down the production line and a paintbrush to be wired to where the mirror or the interior light would be located, I should say. Now, I've had the exact same story told to me by Mr. Curry, who was a painter at Acacia Ridge, and he was saying, oh, well, what they used was a paint lid, not a paintbrush. But what happened was, if a Holden employee bought a car, when a body was assigned to them, it was assigned by the supervisor on the order as being a special order for employee. And so what they would do is a paintbrush would be wired to the interior of the car. So as that car came down the line, as soon as someone saw that it had a paintbrush hanging from it, well, they realised that that car was for one of their own. And so what they would do is that car would get extra paint. It would get the best interior that was being made for that style, whether it be the colour or the standard or the whatever, but it got the best of the best. It would get the best wheels and tyres. It would whichever engine and gearbox was considered to be the best one done for today, because it was all just in time, really, remember? Well, it would be the one given to that car. So those employee cars would have been the hot rods of their day because they were the one to get. And it was because of the symbol of the paintbrush, or in Brisbane, the paint lid, to tell everybody, this is for one of our own, give them the best. I think that's terrific, and that even resonates with me, hearing my friend Scotty Too Hotty buying one, and he bought it off the original owner who used to work at General Motors, and General Motors actually painted it the EK pink colour that the fellow's wife had when the gentleman retired. They actually gave him a free car. Said, "What do you want? What would you like?" And he said, "Oh, I want a 4-door HQ, and I want it rose pink," or whatever was the colour. And so they said, "Well, we can't just do one. We'll do a run of 15." So that's exactly what they did. So that was the purpose of the paintbrush. Now the other thing is two other things. Holden had a couple of programs. One was called Holden Homegrown, and that was a grant to sporting or community organisations for an amount of money, up to $10,000. But the other thing through my research that I've seen is called Holden in a Driveway. Now, more recently, towards the end of the Holden run, if you were buying a Holden and you could get a Holden employee or a Holden retired employee for that matter, to sign what's called the Holden in the Driveway form, you get an extra $2,000 discount on buying your Holden. And I think this is terrific. But it's the stories, and then obviously doing some research and finding out about it from talking to old timers. Do you find out the stories, because they're forgetting what new people to the Holden organisation are actually learning. So from that respect, it's really, really important. In mentioning that I spoke to a Holden painter at Warina, I've met 3 Holden painters, and this fellow was talking about Mundy Brown, and it's Mundy with an I. And if you look at Norm Darwin's book, History of Holden, I think it's in the paint section, nearly at the back of the book. It's actually the last paint colour mentioned. It actually gives the paint number for it, Mundy Brown with an I. I was talking to this painter about the variations in paint. And I said, how did it get its name? He said, well, on Monday they started off with the brown paint that was going to be for the boards. So the side, the top, and the other side of the board were painted Mundy Brown, and the underneath was copper naphthalate. So it just stops the board from rotting, copper naphthalate. I think copper naphthalate might even be, in its old concentrated sense, legalised out now. But anyway, that's another matter. So what he was saying to me is there were variations in colour of Mundy Brown, because what would happen, and when you think about it, it's true. They didn't paint with a paint pot, that big. They're actually got just a gun that's hooked up with the lines, and the lines go back to the barrel, because they're painting 15 cars at a time, a batch of cars, that colour, the same colour, so they're using that same colour paint. But the thing is, as they finish with that paint, if they don't have any more to use it, they're not going to waste it. They don't necessarily stick it back in the can. And what the painter said to me is, well, they would dump it into the Mundy Brown. So as soon as you do that, well, even brown is the most predominant colour in the batch. As soon as you add something else to it, well, it's all nitrocellulose lacquer in those days, but, it changes the colour a little bit. And that's, according to the painter, why there was a little bit of variation at the time. So, that was his story on Mundy Brown. But as far as he was concerned, and from everything he knew, it was called Mundy because on Monday it started the right colour. And so it was a case of, the Monday Brown didn't stay Monday Brown. It ended up being Mundy Brown, which is why they called it Mundy. But the other thing I wanted to show you guys is something from my childhood, and it's a childhood memory of mine, and I've recently been able to get another one from Adelaide. And what it is it came in a box, and I remember this really, really well and I can remember being a 4-year-old and a 3-year-old, I suppose, and my dad would use it when he was taking me to kindergarten. So it was a little shaver. And so you can see what it was like. And it turns out it was a Remington. And so the Remington, there it is, little wires and all that sort of thing. So it's either in this instance 6 volt or 240 volt, plugs in underneath there, and it's got a little cover that goes over the top. It's all very nice. And here you can see Remington Super 60, whereas on this side it's Auto Home 6 volt and 240 volt, which is on the advertising. And and there's also a little switch here on the side which turns it from 240 volt to 6 volt. Pretty amazing, really. Oh, it also has variable voltage there as well, so it's quite clever. But that's, my dad used to use those, and Dad's would have been a 12 volt one, but this one's 6 volt. And I can vividly remember being taken to kindergarten and Dad having a shave on the road, because we lived at West End and we were only pretty much 2 blocks away from the kindergarten. So he was sending me to kindy to give my mum a break. But That's exactly what he was using. Now, he kept that from his Holden because he had the FX. They put the FJ front on it. Then he had an FC as the taxi, and then he moved from FCs to Valiants, and he was using this in the Valiant, but he was keeping the good bits from the Holden because he wanted to use them because the Valiant was a luxury car, so he could earn more money. But I really liked that. As soon as I saw that, it brought back vivid memories. It's a little bit like, using your senses. As soon as you smell something, you remember, or you hear music and you remember the music when a certain set of circumstances happened in your life and so on. But that reminded me of things that my dad used to do because Dad had one as well. So it's a Remington shaver. You can see Remington across the top. But, a great little thing. I'm actually going to, I'm just going to, keep it for my FJ. I don't care whether it works or not. It's just my little, everyone knows I like all the quirky things. But that just gives you a quick hit here on the FJ Holden Jive Talking. So don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Share with your friends, all your car buddies. Let's get Nasco Bay out there. But, more importantly, enjoy your Holden.